Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Harakah, Kadash. Double wonders unto the apostles and elders of great millstone who rule well, and shalom to the whole elect. This video is an impromptu video, and I don't know what I'm going to entitle it as of yet, but this is in line with the turn of the year, the turn of the decade, but this is a video I just had an idea to do, upon kind of meditating on a few things. But basically, every generation is full of various moments in time, and due to the present rulership that we're in under Esau Edom, we live under a thing known as the Gregorian calendar, which, in accordance with the word, isn't basically biblical. It's something of man, specifically of Esau, and in terms of governing time, it's incorrect, because you have things known as a leap year, which we're presently in a leap year this year 2020, which is a way of compensating lost time by adding a day in every 4 years, because the true calendar that is denoted by which really, time is governed by the moon, the stars, and the sun. They will have different uses. For example, the moon is where you get the word month. The sun governs a day, alright? And then you have the stars. You have different systems that are in the sky that basically govern the seasons, alright? So you have these celestial, hosts in the heavens that basically used to denote time, and through the adding up of those cycles that are in the heavens, basically it gives you a set amount of time, like a year, for example, a decade, a century, etc. So with the use of, and that's why you have a 29.5 day month. 29.5 don't necessarily mean it's 29.5 every month. It just means give or take, to make it even throughout the course of the year. It all depends on the cycle of the moon, whether you're gonna get 29.5 days in a month, all right? But ultimately it falls, the moon gives you a month. So with that said, that little point, I was going off on a tangent. Dealing with the Gregorian calendar, you have errors within generations of time. So we're presently in the era of the last days, as spoke of in the book of Hebrews. But at the same time, what needs to be understood is that we have decades, right? We just left a decade known as the 2010s, right? Or the tens, as they may call them as well. And we're entered into the 20s. Right, and 100 years ago, you had a thing known as the Roaring Twenties, where there was a spike in financial capitalism over in America, particularly, I believe, and maybe even in the UK. I'm not too sure, but these times don't denote certain things that happen within that decade, and they put forth a certain spirit. All right. And Apostle went into this talking about the 70s. People say the music was great in the 70s. The 60s had monumental movements during this time. The Black Power movement. You had the women's liberation movement. You had all these pivotal things happen within these courses of time. And this is no different. I'm actually planning on doing a video going into, I was going to start from 1970 or 1960 and then get into prophecy through decade and decade. At some point I'm going to do that. If anyone else does it through the spirit, I guess they do it, you know what I mean? But that's what I wanted to do, just kind of look over it and go through prophecies and go through different various things. But for now, I'm going to just stick with 2019 as a whole, more or less some form of wrap up of the year, but just harp on key events that happened throughout the course of the year, which through the spirit Apostle named the year Charagma. All right. So this is I'm using Wikipedia as kind of like a basis to kind of shoot about and do various things, whatever comes to mind. It's just an of spur of the moment kind of thing. So 2019 was a common year starting on Tuesday. So the year for all you Gregorian calendar guys, why did it start on Tuesday? The common year starting on Tuesday of the Gregorian calendar, and that's even a cut for them guys. I don't even want to talk about you guys because you're really irrelevant. But yeah, the year started on Tuesday. It didn't start on Monday. It didn't start on Sunday. It started on Tuesday. You know, the 29th year of the Common Era, and Anno Domini. Designations the 19th century of the year, the third millennium, 19th, etc., etc. So I'm just gonna go to and look, this even cuts it as well. 2019 in various calendars: Gregorian calendar, Ab Orb Condita, 2772, Armenian calendar, 1468, Assyrian calendar, 6769. So all these various calendars have different times to know what present time we're in. Alright? Showing you that this is the common agreed time of this man's world. You know what I mean? But in terms of other people, they look at time in a different light, basically. Okay, let me see. They don't have the Judean or Hebrew. Okay, they got the Hebrew calendar. See, so it's there. But anyway, let's get into the points. So events. So in January, the 1st of January, key event, you had same-sex marriage coming legal in Austria. So that's like making headways, making movements, progressing towards this world being in tune with the Luciferian doctrine. Do as thou wilt, basically, which goes against the word of the Holy Scriptures, but it's more in line with the wickedness, Job 9 and 24. Right, the wicked basically ruling over the earth. You had a coup d'etat, Gabon. Right. You had an attack in Nairobi, Kenya. Suicide attack in Bogota, Colombia. You had an explosion happen in Mexico of 137 people. You have a 6.7 earthquake in Chile, where it left 200,000 people without power. This is all in January, man. And some of them I'm probably missing. You might be seeing them things that I'm missing, man. I'm just trying to, go through it as quick as possible. Alright? Two bombs at cathedral in Philippines. U.S. Justice Department charges Chinese tech firm Huawei with multiple counts of fraud, raising U.S.-China tensions. Now, that's one of the things that I'm looking to, Lord willing, if I do this video, I was reading up on the 2010s, and they said, like, they were speaking of, like, basically, America still maintained itself in the world as a superpower, but China was basically making waves in becoming a superpower itself, leading to, trade wars and various other tensions in the world due to that fact. So this disarming of the tech firm Huawei, because that Huawei, I remember a brother in the camp was telling me about the P60 or something like that, saying the camera they had was the same quality as a bloody like a professional filming camera. That's the quality. And if you know anything about these things with the socials, dealing with Snapchat and Instagram, they basically purposely reduce the quality of Android devices to make it as to where to give iPhone an advantage, basically. And you know what that's being done to basically maintain their place at the head of the market, because power is maintained on all bases, right? China having making itself a tech giant basically is gonna have a lot of power and draw for capital, and even then control, like how I said, iPhone actually have the best quality. They don't have the best quality items in terms of goods with the iPhone, but they are able to manipulate it as to where they are, because they're in pocket. The social websites are in their pocket, basically. So that's a form of power, man. Everyone buying into their brand. Okay, and they have more control, propaganda. So that's China's basically trying to make put themselves in that spot, all right? So that's part of what's going on. But in terms of that's just, as it tells you in Psalms, Moab being the washpot of the Lord, all right? And he's washing out, and that's why they're saying that China's going to be the next superpower. It's really just because they're fulfilling prophecy in terms of being the washpot of the Lord and getting the Esau through that means, all right? So February 1st, U.S. President Donald Trump confirms that the U.S. will leave the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty of 1987, citing Russian non-compliance. The next day, Russia follows suit with suspension of its obligations to the treaty. So more World War III tensions, man. And basically that's setting up what? World War III, basically. The prophecies of America being destroyed by thermonuclear destruction by Russia. Okay? By them having not having a treaty and not being obligated not to abide by that treaty, dealing with intermediate range nuclear forces treaty, that allows them to then, the foreseeable prophecies to play out as they should. You know what I mean? It's putting it in their minds that World War III can go down. Pope goes to the Arabian Peninsula. Taliban. Okay. The major fire in Dhaka. Yeah, that was a big thing with the President Maduro of Venezuela and Colombia, and they were saying about I don't know if they're gonna go into it later, but I remember that was a big deal. They were saying how Maduro is basically starving his people and don't wanna take care of them or something to that effect, and they're trying to set up a puppet in his place. But basically what happened is it was due to the fact that he wanted his gold back from the Bank of England, I believe, saying that he with that gold he'd be able to take care of his people and they wouldn't be in crisis. But they were trying to make it as to where, look, the only way we'll give you your gold back is if you put the other dude up in power. So obviously you could see that underhand kind of shadiness, all right? So, and that's dealing with what was said by the elites. It came out, I can't remember, it was one of the American generals or something to that effect, how he spoke of how they want to set up central banks in some remaining countries, which the main one being Iran. And that's why you had that recent thing play out with Donald Trump on the early days of January 2020, killing one of the by a drone strike, killing one of the main Iranian colonels or generals, man. So yeah, you see these things are playing out. Yeah, you had a summit between North Korea and Donald Trump. Um, mm, well, I thought that was further, but a longer time ago. So you had March 15th. You had the guy that went bloody Call of Duty in New Zealand, Christchurch on Muslims, man. Duppy killing a lot of them, man. It was crazy. 51 people killed and 50 others injured, and that shit looked like a what they call it, POV. I forgot what they call the specific name, but it looked crazy, man. Guy was reloading and just shooting them mercilessly. All right, building, growing more tension in terms of the idea of terrorism, dealing with building more of a what you call it, there's a key point building. So first, what they're doing is establishing more of sorry, man, brain is okay. Let me just read this because it's the other point. So it is the deadliest mass shooting and terrorist attack in New Zealand's history, and described by the Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern as one of New Zealand's darkest days. Yeah, because basically, the days of darkness are coming. The day of Yahweh Shai is coming, and perpetually everything's getting worse and worse. And even it was said in the book of Luke, shall there be faith upon the earth? What be I come the Lord come to bring fire upon the earth, and what be I if it not be already kindled? All right. So basically, it's gonna be going off. Okay, by the time the Lord comes. So this is like a spark that's being fanned into a great raging forest fire basically. And these are the things that are conjuring up that flame or that wildfire. So this is the point. Subsequently, Facebook announced they had disabled 1.5 million videos of the government's rampage. So that right there, subsequently, is letting you know that dealing with the internet and certain footage, they have total power and control to deem whatever. If it's in line with terrorism, it can be taken away from the internet. And you might be saying, yeah, we killed da-da-da-da-da. I get that. But the point you're missing is you have guys that are in gang beefs, petty gang beefs, all up and down the country, which are being charged as terrorists. Okay, they're now slapping the terrorist charge on them as well as GBH, ABH, whatever kind of possession of an illegal firearm, whatever kind of crime that's being passed upon them. Even people that are stealing a car, they're being charged as terrorists. All right, they're charging them under a form of terrorism. So the point is that the word of terrorism can be thrown loosely on anyone, and in that being done, it allows the powers that be in terms of in terms of these social sites which are in pocket with the government, in the pocket of the governments, that allows them to basically deem certain people terrorists and give them the bad rap. And that's in tune with the usage of the YouTube and publishing of the word, right? So that's making waves, all of that, man. So yeah, reading on. Wow. March 20th, Europe's anti-trust regulators fined Google 1.49 billion euros, 1.7 billion, for freezing out rivals in the online advertising business. Damn. That's crazy. 1.7 billion. It's a crazy piece. Um, the ruling brings to nearly $10 billion the fines imposed against Google by the European Union. So they have a monopoly on advertisement, and that really goes into, as we know, Google's one of the key businesses that are really going to be a monopolizing are going to be a monopoly within their business, basically, and that just should make you think of what's this movie, Minority Report, right, where Tom Cruise's character would go into a shopping mall or wherever he'd go, and his details, his cookies, or the cachet of all these previous search items will come up in front of him and offer it and advertise certain things to him. So they own that monopoly, and then obviously they're gonna bank on it, all right, which all leads onto into the Internet of Things, all right. So that's what they're building upon, the RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast, which is at the center, the helm of the Internet of Things, all right, which is basically the mark of the beast is the main thing. It may sound like, oh, technology, da 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 da, but it's really gonna make you down. Like, you take that mark, man, you're down with the system, and you're marked for death, basically. Okay. Um. Okay. 400,000 people marched in central London to protest against Brexit. I remember that shit, man. Yeah, he had a big march, but yeah, it's still gonna happen, man. Oh, we'll see what's gonna happen. Should I say? Uh, Plagues sent upon the Lord showing you His power, man. April 15th during Holy Week, a major fire engulfed Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, resulting in the roof and the main spire collapsing. Showing the Lord ain't with that shit, man. Acts comes to mind, and I'll quickly read that. See, it's befitting. Oops. Acts 7:48. Let me check out this Holy Week real quick. What's Holy Week? Okay, I'm gonna read two parts. So this Holy Week, Christianity is in Christianity. Sorry, Holy Week in Christianity is the week just before Easter, which the word Easter goes back to Aster, which basically is a worship of I'm trying to remember the stars, I believe. Cosmology. Mm. That's it. It's worship of the goddess. I'm trying to remember, man. It's luckier. I know it's Asta or Esther. I just can't remember. Never mind. I'll look it up again. I don't want to get lost in that. Okay. So Easter is sorry, Holy Week. Holy Week is in Christianity is a week just before Easter. It's also the last week of Lent in the West. All right. Holy Week and Easter Day liturgies attract the biggest crowds of the year. Many cultures have different traditions like Easter eggs, floats, sculptures of Christ's life, arrest and burial, and contributing to the great feast to echo the theme of resurrection, which really they're worshipping Nimrod. I believe it's Esther. The god. This is gonna bug me, man. So I need to look it up. Yeah, the goddess of fertility. I'm trying to remember. Isn't it Esther? I'm trying to remember, man. Hmm. Yeah. Sorry, man. It's luckier, man. Man, memory ain't where it was. But okay. So basically, it's the worship of a Babylonian goddess, man, or as they say here, Esther. But yeah, that's why the Lord made it happen on that day, man. All right, the way He did. Yahweh Shem El Shai Shem Harakah Kadash, because it's wicked. All right, it's meant to be a day where He's celebrating the quote unquote they place upon Yahweh Shai, okay, who they falsely call Jesus. It's meant to be a day to celebrate Him, but guess what they're doing? They're celebrating this basically it's idol. So the Lord sent judgment, all right, and also in doing so, it reiterates this report, point as well. Acts 7:48. Howbeit the Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands, as saith the prophet. Heaven is my throne and earth is my footstool. What house shall you build me, saith the Lord, and what is the place of my rest? Have not my hand made all these things? Right? And He cast out the roof, man. So, really, what I'm reading from that was on the roof and the main spire collapsing. Is to open it up and for you to look to the heavens to know that He ain't in that building. He's beyond that, man. He's in the heavens. Okay? See what else was going on. Yeah, Kim Jong-un went to check Vladimir Putin. Avengers Endgame, highest grossing movie of all time. And what's the themes of Avengers Endgame? The Endgame, the end of it all, man. Right? Which basically one of the other things I read about is that superhero movies took the center stage in terms of cinema, in terms of the highest grossing movies. This being a point as well, you know, being a climax to which it says the film received praise for its direction, acting, musical score, action sequences, visual effects, and emotional weight. The critics lauding its accumulation of 22 film story. So it's 22 movies take it. It's accumulation of things to get to this point, right? For it to be as powerful as it is, you had a lot of movies playing its part, all right? Which basically just shows you that, you know, we're talking. This is the highest grossing movie. Funny enough, is a superhero movie, which basically heroes have what you call spiritual power. Possible going into in the camp this week. If someone walks on water, what would you call that? Would you call that man a superhero? They'll say my power is to walk on water and heal people, and anyone comes approaches me with any kind of demon on them or any, that's like some Dr. Fate, or he's another form of it, but Doctor Strange type shit, man, casting off demons of people and putting demons into other places, allowing people to heal, man. That's them top high level peoples, man, bringing back people from death. And like the apostles say, Superman can't do that shit. So these movies, really, why they're taking the center stage is because they're priming the minds of the people to see some crazy things in these last days. All right? Okay. Funny enough, yeah, you had it says Russian President Vladimir Putin signs into law a controversial sovereign internet bill that allows Russian authorities to better monitor the internet and routing and steer Russian internet traffic away from foreign servers. So them having control over the net, which ultimately, as we read earlier, Google does the same thing in terms of advertising, right? But on a world level, okay, even though they're apprehended by, they were penalized by what's these people called, man? Um, by the European Union. That don't mean nothing, man. Because it didn't stop them from. I mean, they just had to pay out all that money, but it didn't say nothing about them stopping them from doing it or nothing of that nature, right? Proponents of the bill say ensures Russians' internet security and decreases dependence on foreign servers, while critics argue that it gives new censorship powers to the government and is a part of a global trend of cyber balkanization. Google is an American company, it's doing the same thing. But you see, this is all propaganda, man. Alright? Because they know that ultimately it's just building upon the prophecy of, if Satan be divided against Satan, how shall his kingdom stand? It's all a part of the culmination for World War III. Alright? So I'm gonna continue this video in a later date.